Relax with stories that help you sleep, work, and calm your mind. Today's story is called Tinder Date. We invite you to listen and support our channel by clicking subscribe and receiving channel notifications to conveniently follow the next videos. Sincerely thank you. The Los Angeles night hums with possibility, a city of dreams and fleeting connections, where neon lights flicker like promises half kept. It's a Friday, the kind of evening where the air feels charged, like something extraordinary might happen if you just lean into it. In a loft apartment in Echo Park, Olivia Pham sprawls across a velvet sofa, her phone glowing in her hand. The Tinder app is open, a parade of faces and bios blurring past her thumb. She's 27, a stylist with a knack for turning thrift store finds into runway magic. Her life a whirlwind of fabric swatches, mood boards, and late-night tacos from food trucks. Her dark hair falls in loose waves over one shoulder, framing a face that's equal parts sharp and soft-high cheekbones, a smattering of freckles, and lips that curve into a smirk when she's amused, which isn't often enough these days. Olivia doesn't believe in love, not the kind that blooms from pixels and algorithms. Tinder, to her, is a game, a distraction from the monotony of LA's endless hustle. She swipes left on gym bros flexing in mirrors, left on guys with bios that scream, "I'm here for a good time, not a long time," left on anyone who looks like they'd bore her before the first drink arrives. Her profile is a masterpiece of nonchalance. A photo of her in a leather jacket, sunglasses perched low, standing against a graffiti-covered wall. Another of her laughing mid-bite of a burger, ketchup on her chin, and a bio that reads, "Swipe right if you can keep up." Spoiler, you probably can't. She's not here for soulmates. She's here because boredom is a cruel mistress, and tonight, it's winning. Across town, in a sleek downtown condo, Carter Lee leans back in a leather chair, a glass of bourbon in hand. At 30, he's a marketing director with a corner office and a smile that closes deals before he utters a word. He's tall, with broad shoulders that fill out his tailored blazers, and a jawline that could cut glass, softened only by the warmth in his hazel eyes. His dark hair is just long enough to fall messily across his forehead when he's not trying to look polished, and there's a quiet intensity to him, like he's always thinking 3 steps ahead. Carter's Tinder profile is understated but deliberate. A shot of him hiking in Griffith Park, another of him in a suit at a gala, and a bio that reads, "Good at making you laugh, better at making you stay." He's not desperate, but he's lonely, a truth he'd never admit out loud. Carter joined Tinder 6 months ago, after a breakup that left him hollowed out. His ex was a storm, beautiful and chaotic, and when she left, she took pieces of him with her. He's dated since, but the women he meets are either too eager or too guarded, and he's starting to wonder if connection is just a myth in a city built on facades. Tonight, though, he's restless. The bourbon burns his throat, and the silence of his apartment feels too loud. He opens Tinder, scrolling through profiles with the same detachment he applies to emails. Swipe left, 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 until he stops. Olivia's face fills his screen, and something in his chest tightens. It's not just her beauty, though. She's stunning, with eyes that seem to dare him to look closer. It's the energy in her photos, the way she seems unapologetically herself. He reads her bio, chuckles, and swipes right before he can overthink it. A moment later, his phone buzzes. It's a match. The words flash across the screen, and Carter feels a flicker of something he hasn't felt in months: curiosity. Back in Echo Park, Olivia's phone pings as she's halfway through a glass of rosé. She glances at the notification, expecting another generic, "Hey, what's up?" from a match she'll ignore. But Carter's profile catches her eye. He's handsome, too handsome, she thinks, with that polished look that usually screams arrogance. But there's something else. The way he's grinning in his hiking photo, like he's in on a secret, the way his suit fits like it was made for him, hinting at a body that's strong, without being ostentatious. She hesitates, then taps to message him. If he's boring, she'll ghost him by the second text. Olivia. So, you think you can keep up? Bold claim for a guy in a suit. Carter. Suits come off, Olivia. But my charm? That's permanent. What's your excuse for swiping right? Olivia laughs. A real laugh. The kind that surprises her. His response is quick, playful, not the canned pickup line she expected. She leans forward, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. The game is on. Olivia, I was bored. You looked like you might be less boring than the rest. Prove me wrong, suit guy. Carter, challenge accepted. Let's skip the small talk. Favorite meme of the week go. She grins, scrolling through her camera roll to find a ridiculous Shiba Inu meme with the caption, "When you realize it's Friday, but you still have to adult." She sends it, and Carter responds with a gif of a dancing baby Yoda, captioned, "Me trying to impress you right now." Olivia snorts, nearly spilling her wine. They trade memes for the next hour, each one sillier than the last, until Carter shifts gears. Carter. Okay, you're funnier than I expected, but I bet you're even better in person. Drinks tomorrow night? If I can't make you laugh 3 times, I'm buying. Olivia's pulse quickens. She doesn't do dates, not really just casual meetups that fizzle out before dessert. But there's something about Carter's confidence, the way he's bold without being pushy. She bites her lip, her thumb hovering over the screen. What's the worst that could happen? A free drink and a story to laugh about later? Olivia, deal. But if I laugh 4 times, you're driving me home. Pick a spot, funny guy. Carter, Silver Lake Lounge, 8 p.m. Wear something that makes you feel unstoppable. I'll be the guy trying not to stare. Olivia sets her phone down, her heart racing just a little. She tells herself it's nothing, just another Tinder match, another night out. But as she catches her reflection in the window, her eyes are bright, her cheeks flushed. She's already thinking about what to wear, how to walk into that bar, like she owns it. Across town, Carter leans back in his chair, a slow smile spreading across his face. He doesn't know why, but he feels it to a pull, a spark, like this match might be more than just a game. The night stretches on, and Los Angeles hums, oblivious to the collision course it's set for Olivia and Carter. Tomorrow, they'll meet. Tomorrow, everything might change. But for now, they're just 2 strangers, tethered by a swipe, unaware that fate is already writing their story. The Silver Lake Lounge glows like a secret tucked into the heart of Los Angeles, its neon sign casting a soft, pink haze over the sidewalk. It's Saturday night, and the air is warm, carrying the scent of jasmine and the distant hum of traffic. Inside, the bar is a cocoon of dim light and low murmurs, with exposed brick walls, mismatched chairs, and a jukebox spilling out a sultry indie track. The crowd is a mix of artists, hipsters, and dreamers, all chasing something: connection, escape, or just a good story. Tonight, Olivia Pham and Carter Lee are about to become each other's story, though neither knows it yet. Olivia steps out of her Uber, her boots clicking against the pavement. She's dressed to kill, but not in the way that screams effort. Her black leather skirt hugs her hips, accentuating the curve of her thighs, and a crimson silk top clings to her frame, dipping low enough to hint at the smooth expanse of her collarbone. Her dark hair cascades over one shoulder, catching the streetlight like polished obsidian, and her lips, painted a bold red curve into a half smile as she catches her reflection in a shop window. She looks like a woman who knows exactly what she wants, even if, deep down, she's not sure she believes in wanting anything at all. Tinder dates are a gamble, and Olivia's played enough to know the odds. But something about Carter's messages, their easy banter, his quick with-ahs, her curious, maybe even a little hopeful, though she'd never admit it. She pushes open the door, and the bar's warmth wraps around her like a lover's embrace. Her eyes scan the room, searching for the man from the photos. She spots him before he sees her, and her breath catches, just for a second. Carter Lee is leaning against the bar, one hand wrapped around a glass of amber liquid, the other tucked casually in his pocket. He's wearing a white dress shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle, and dark jeans that fit like they were tailored to his long, lean legs. His dark hair is slightly tousled, as if he ran his fingers through it moments ago, and there's a quiet confidence in the way he holds himself. Not arrogant, but like he's comfortable in his own skin. When he turns and their eyes meet, his face lights up with a smile that's equal parts charm and mischief, and Olivia feels a flutter low in her stomach, unexpected and undeniable. Carter straightens as she approaches, his gaze sweeping over her, not in a leering way, but like he's trying to memorize every detail, the sway of her hips, the glint in her almond-shaped eyes, the way her lips part slightly as she closes the distance. He's seen her photos, but they didn't prepare him for this. Olivia in the flesh is a force, radiant and unapologetic, her presence filling the space between them like a current. He sets his drink down, stepping forward to meet her, and his voice, when he speaks, is low and warm, with a hint of a drawl that makes her toes curl. "You must be Olivia," he says, his eyes locking onto hers. "I'd say you look better than your photos, but that feels like cheating." Olivia raises an eyebrow, her smirk sharp but playful. "And you must be Carter, not bad yourself suit guy. Though I'm still deciding if you're worth the Uber fare." He laughs, a rich, genuine sound that cuts through the bar's ambient noise, and gestures to the stool beside him. "Let's find out. First, drinks on me, but you're keeping score on those laughs." She slides onto the stool, crossing one leg over the other, her skirt riding up just enough to draw his eye before he catches himself and looks back at her face. The bartender, a wiry guy with a sleeve of tattoos, slides a menu their way, but Olivia doesn't need it. "Vodka soda, lime," she says, her voice crisp, and Carter nods, ordering a whiskey neat. Their drinks arrive quickly, and as they clink glasses, their fingers brush briefly, but enough to send a spark up Olivia's arm. She tells herself it's nothing, just the buzz of a new encounter, but the way Carter's eyes linger on her makes it hard to dismiss. "So," Carter says, leaning in just enough that she catches the faint scent of his cologne cedar and something darker, like smoked leather. "Tell me something real, no Tinder bio bullshit. What's the last thing that made you feel alive?" Olivia pauses, her glass halfway to her lips. It's not the kind of question she expected, not from a guy she met on an app known for hookups and half-hearted small talk. She studies him, searching for a hint of pretense, but his gaze is steady, curious, like he actually wants to know. Her fingers trace the rim of her glass as she thinks, and then she smiles, a little softer this time. "Last week, I was styling a shoot in Venice Beach at sunrise," she says. "The light was perfect, all golden and soft, and for a moment, it was just me, the ocean, and this dress I'd spent weeks designing. It felt like, I don't know, like I was exactly where I was supposed to be." She shrugs, almost embarrassed by her own honesty. "Your turn, funny guy. What makes you feel alive?" Carter leans back, his fingers drumming lightly on the bar, and she notices the way his hands move strong, deliberate, with a faint scar across one knuckle that makes her wonder about the stories behind it. "Honestly, driving up the Pacific Coast Highway at night, windows down, music loud enough to drown out my thoughts. There's this stretch near Malibu where the stars feel close enough to touch, and for a minute, you forget all the noise in your head." He pauses, his eyes flicking to hers. "But I'm starting to think this conversation might give that a run for its money." Olivia laughs, and it's the first of the three he promised. "Smooth," she says, "but there's no bite in it, just a warmth she can't quite suppress. One down, two to go." The conversation flows like they've known each other for years, not minutes. They trade stories about their worst Tinder daters, involving a guy who brought his mom to the bar, his about a woman who tried to sell him essential oils mid-dinner, and their laughter grows louder, drawing glances from nearby tables. Olivia's laugh is bright, uninhibited, and Carter finds himself watching the way her eyes crinkle at the corners, the way her lips part to reveal a flash of white teeth. She's not just beautiful, she's alive, every gesture charged with energy, from the way she tucks a strand of hair behind her ear, to the way she leans forward when she's making a point, her fingers brushing his arm for emphasis. Carter's no slouch either, and Olivia can't help but notice the details that make him more than just another handsome face. His shoulders are broad, filling out his shirt in a way that suggests he's no stranger to the gym, but it's the subtler things that catch her, the way his Adam's apple bobs when he laughs, the faint stubble along his jaw that she imagines would feel rough against her skin, the way his eyes seem to darken when he looks at her, like he's seeing something no one else has. There's a warmth to him, a depth that makes her want to peel back his layers, even as she reminds herself to keep her guard up. They order another round, then another, and the bar starts to blur around them. The jukebox shifts to a slow, jazzy number, and Carter leans closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Okay, confession time. I almost didn't show up tonight. Thought you might be too good to be true." Olivia tilts her head, her lips curving into a teasing smile. "And now that I'm here, am I living up to the hype?" He doesn't answer right away, just looks at her, his gaze tracing the line of her jaw, the curve of her lips, the way her eyelashes cast delicate shadows on her cheeks. "You're trouble," he says finally, but there's a grin tugging at his mouth. "The kind of trouble I didn't know I needed." She laughs again, number two, and feels a warmth spreading through her, not just from the vodka, but from the way he's looking at her, like she's the only person in the room. They start swapping stories about LA, about the city's quirks and contradictions, and Olivia finds herself talking more than she usually does, her words spilling out, like she's been saving them for someone who'd actually listen. Carter's a good listener, his attention unwavering, but he's not passive. Tin challenges her, teases her, keeps her on her toes. When she mentions her love for vintage records, he lights up, telling her about the vinyl collection he inherited from his dad, and they spend 10 minutes debating the merits of Fleetwood Mac versus the Eagles, their voices overlapping in a way that feels effortless, electric. The night deepens, and the bar starts to empty out, but neither of them notices. Olivia's leaning closer now, her knee brushing his under the bar, and Carter's hand rests on the back of her stool, his fingers inches from her shoulder. There's a moment when their eyes lock, and the air between them thickens, charged with something neither can name. Olivia feels it in her chest, a pull that's equal parts thrilling and terrifying. She's used to keeping people at arm's length, but Carter's not making it easy. His presence is a quiet storm, all warmth and intensity, and she's caught in it, unable to look away. "Last call," the bartender announces, breaking the spell, and Olivia blinks, realizing how late it's gotten. The jukebox has gone quiet, and the bar is nearly empty, just a few stragglers nursing their drinks. She glances at Carter, expecting the awkwardness that usually comes when a date winds down, but there's none. His eyes are still on her, soft but searching, like he's not ready to let the night end. "Guess we lost track of time," he says, his voice low, almost reluctant. He finishes his drink, setting the glass down with a soft clink, and stands, offering her his hand. "Come on, I'll walk you out." Olivia takes his hand, and the contact sends a jolt through her, his palm warm and slightly rough against hers. They step outside, and the night air is cool, a contrast to the heat still lingering on her skin. The street is quiet now, the neon sign above them buzzing faintly. Carter's still holding her hand, and she doesn't pull away, not yet. They stand there, facing each other, and she notices the way the streetlight catches the flecks of gold in his eyes, the way his lips part like he's about to say something but doesn't. "So," she says, her voice softer than she intended. "Did I laugh 3 times?" Carter grins, stepping closer, close enough that she can feel the warmth radiating from him. "You laughed twice, but I'm not complaining. Means I get to see you again to hit the mark." Her heart skips, and she tilts her head, her lips curving into a challenge. "Bold assumption, suit guy. What makes you think I'm giving you a second shot?" He doesn't answer with words. Instead, he reaches out, his fingers brushing a strand of hair from her face, his touch light but deliberate. His hand lingers, his thumb grazing the edge of her jaw, and Olivia's breath hitches, her body betraying her cool exterior. His eyes search hers, and there's a question there, unspoken but clear. The moment stretches, heavy with possibility, and Olivia feels the weight of it, the choice hanging between them. She could walk away now, call another Uber, chalk this up to a good night, and nothing more. But as she looks at Carter, his strong jaw, his broad shoulders, the way his gaze makes her feel seen, in a way she hasn't in years, she knows she's not going anywhere. Not yet. The night isn't over, and neither is their story. The Silver Lake Lounge is a fading memory behind them, its neon glow swallowed by the quiet of the Los Angeles night. The street is still, save for the occasional hum of a passing car and the soft rustle of palm fronds in the breeze. Olivia Pham and Carter Lee stand just outside the bar, the air between them thick with unspoken promises. The streetlight bathes them in a golden haze, catching the sharp angles of Carter's jaw and the glossy waves of Olivia's hair. They're closer than they need to be, and neither moves to break the spell. The world feels small, reduced to the space between their bodies, the heat of their breath, the pulse of something new and reckless beating in their chests. Olivia's heart is a traitor, thudding too fast as she looks up at Carter. He's taller than she realized, his frame broad and solid, the kind of presence that makes her feel both anchored and untethered. His white shirt is unbuttoned at the collar now, revealing a sliver of tanned skin at the base of his throat, and she wonders, fleetingly, what it would feel like to press her lips there, to taste the salt of him. His hazel eyes are locked on hers, flecked with gold in the dim light, and there's a hunger in them, not predatory but yearning, like he's seeing her in a way no one has before. She's used to being looked other beauty as a fact, not a boast, but this is different. Carter's gaze is a caress, tracing the curve of her cheek, the bow of her lips, the delicate line of her collarbone where her crimson-topped dips low. It makes her feel exposed, alive, wanted in a way that's both thrilling and terrifying. Carter's hand is still near her face, his fingers lingering from when he brushed a strand of hair away moments ago. His touch was light, but it left a trail of heat on her skin, and now his thumb hovers near her jaw, not quite touching but close enough that she feels the ghost of it. He's watching her, waiting, and she knows he's giving her an out. She could step back, laugh it off, call this wedded Issa Tinder date, nothing more. But her body has other ideas. Her lips part, her breath shallow, and she tilts her head just slightly, an invitation she doesn't fully understand but can't resist. "You didn't laugh 3 times, Carter says, his voice low, rough around the edges like he's fighting to keep it steady. He's teasing, but there's an undercurrent of something deeper, something that makes her pulse race. Does that mean I get a redo? Olivia's lips curve into a smirk, her eyes glinting with challenge. You're at 2, suit guy. Don't get cocky. Her voice is playful, but it's softer than she means it to be, betraying the warmth spreading through her. She steps closer, closing the already narrow gap between them, and now she can feel the heat radiating from his body, the faint scent of his colonna cedar and smoked leather, with a hint of something warm and musky that's uniquely him. It's intoxicating, and she has to fight the urge to lean in, to bury her face in the crook of his neck and breathe him in. Carter's smile is slow, deliberate, and it does things to her things she'd rather not name. You're tough, he murmurs, his eyes flicking to her mouth, then back to her eyes. But I'm not complaining. His hand moves, finally, his fingers grazing her jaw, then sliding to cup her cheek. His touch is firm but gentle, his palm warm against her skin, and Olivia feels a shiver run down her spine, pooling low in her belly. His thumb brushes the corner of her mouth, and she wonders if he can feel the way her breath hitches, the way her lips tremble under his touch. Carter, she says, and it's barely a whisper, her voice caught somewhere between a question and a plea. She doesn't know what she's asking for, only that she needs something more than this moment, this unbearable tension. Her hands move of their own accord, one resting lightly on his chest, where she can feel the steady thrum of his heartbeat through the thin fabric of his shirt. His chest is firm, broad, the kind of strength that promises safety and danger in equal measure, and her fingers curl slightly, anchoring herself to him. He leans in, just a fraction, and their faces are so close now that she can see the faint stubble along his jaw, the way his eyelashes cast delicate shadows on his cheeks. His breath is warm against her lips, and it smells faintly of whiskey, sharp and sweet. Olivia, he says, her name, a low rumble in his throat, and it's the sexiest thing she's ever heard, the way he says it like it's a secret he's been keeping. You're not what I expected. She tilts her head, her lips brushing the edge of his jaw as she speaks, and she feels him tense, his breath catching. "Disappointed?" she asks, her voice teasing, but laced with something vulnerable, something real. Her lips are so close to his skin now, she can almost taste him, and the thought makes her dizzy, makes her want to close the distance and find out what he feels like, what he tastes like. Carter's hand slides to the back of her neck, his fingers tangling in her hair, and the sensation sends a jolt through her, electric and overwhelming. "Not even close," he says, and his voice is rough now, raw with want. "You're more than the pictures, more than the texts. You're real." And then he kisses her. It's not tentative, not hesitant, but it's not rushed either. His lips are soft but firm, pressing against hers with a hunger that matches the ache in her chest. The kiss is slow at first, exploratory, like they're learning each other's rhythm. His mouth moves against hers, warm and deliberate, and Olivia melts into it, her body softening against his. Her hands slide up his chest, one curling around his neck, the other gripping his shoulder, where she can feel the taut muscle beneath his shirt. His body is a study in contrast-charred planes and soft warmth, strength, and tenderness, and she wants to explore every inch of it, to map him with her hands, her lips, her tongue. Carter deepens the kiss, his tongue brushing against hers, and it's like a spark, igniting kindling. The taste of him whiskey, and something sweeter, like honey floods her senses, and she moans softly, the sound swallowed by his mouth. His hand tightens in her hair, not pulling but guiding, tilting her head to deepen the angle, and she feels the world tilt with it, like gravity has shifted and he's the only thing keeping her grounded. His other hand finds her waist, his fingers splaying across the curve of her hip, and the pressure is possessive, grounding, sending heat pooling in her core. Her skirt rides up slightly as she presses closer, her thighs brushing his, and she can feel the strength in his legs, the way his body seems to fit against hers like it was made to. Olivia's never been kissed like this, not with this kind of intensity, this kind of care. It's not just a kiss, it's a conversation, a confession, a promise. She can feel the restraint in him, the way he's holding back even as he gives himself to her, and it makes her want to push him to see how far they can go before they both unravel. Her fingers dig into his shoulder, her nails grazing his skin through the fabric, and he groans, a low, primal sound that vibrates against her lips and sends a thrill through her. She wants to hear that sound again, wants to know what other sounds she can draw from him, what other ways she can make him lose control. They break apart, but only barely, their foreheads resting together, their breaths mingling in the cool night air. Olivia's lips are tingling, swollen from the kiss, and she can still feel the ghost of his mouth on hers, the warmth of his hands on her body. Her eyes flutter open, and she finds him looking at her, his gaze dark and intense, like he's trying to memorize every detail of this moment. His thumb brushes her lower lip, and she shivers, her body hyper-aware of every point of contact, the press of his fingers at her waist, the heat of his chest against hers, the faint scratch of his stubble against her forehead. "You okay?" he asks, his voice husky, and there's a tenderness there that catches her off guard, makes her heart ache in a way she's not used to. He's still holding her, his hands steady, and she realizes she's trembling, not from cold but from the intensity of it all. Olivia laughs, a soft, breathy sound, and presses her lips to the corner of his mouth, a quick, teasing kiss that makes him inhale sharply. "I'm more than okay," she says, her voice low, sultry. "But you're making it really hard to play it cool, Carter." He grins, and it's a little crooked, a little boyish, and it makes her want to kiss him again, to keep kissing him until the sun comes up. "Good," he says, his fingers tightening briefly at her waist. "Because I'm not playing it cool either." His eyes search hers, and there's a question there, one he doesn't ask out loud, but she hears anyway. He's giving her another out, another chance to walk away, but the thought of leaving now feels impossible, like trying to walk away from a dream she's only just started to believe in. She steps back, just enough to look at him fully, and the sight of him takes her breath away. His shirt is slightly rumpled now, his hair mussed from her fingers, and there's a flush across his cheeks that makes him look younger, more vulnerable. But his eyes are steady, burning with something that makes her feel seen, wanted, cherished. Her gaze drifts to his lips, still glistening from their kiss, and she imagines kissing him again, imagines what it would be like to lose herself in him completely. Her body is humming, every nerve alight, and she knows this isn't just a Tinder date anymore. This is something else, something real, and it scares her as much as it excites her. "Carter," she says, and her voice is steadier now, though her heart is still racing. She steps closer again, her hands resting on his chest, her fingers tracing the edge of his collar. "You're not what I expected either." She pauses, her eyes locking onto his, and there's a vulnerability in her gaze that she doesn't try to hide. "You're more than the suit, more than the charm. You're real." His breath catches, and for a moment, he just looks at her, like he's trying to decide if she's real, if this moment is real. Then he leans in, his lips brushing her ear, and his voice is a whisper, rough and intimate. "Want to come back to my place?" he asks, and there's no pretense in it, no game, just a raw, honest want that mirrors her own. "No pressure, Olivia, but I don't want this night to end." Her heart stutters, and she feels the weight of the choice, the line they're about to cross. She should say, "No," her rational side screams it. Reminds her that Tinder is fleeting, that this could be a mistake. But her body, her heart, her everything is screaming yes, and the yes is louder, stronger, undeniable. She looks up at him, her lips curving into a smile that's equal parts mischief and surrender. "I should say no," she says, her voice teasing, but her eyes are serious, burning with the same heat she sees in his. "But I don't want to." Carter's grin is immediate, bright, and it lights up the night. He takes her hand, his fingers lacing through hers, and the contact is grounding, electric. "Then let's go," he says, and there's a promise in his voice, not just for tonight, but for something more, something neither of them can name yet. They walk to his car, a sleek black Audi parked a block away, and the whole time, Olivia's aware of his hand in hers, the way his thumb brushes her knuckles, the way her body feels alive, in a way it hasn't in years. As they reach the car, Carter opens the passenger door for her, but before she gets in, he pulls her close, kissing her again, this time quick, fierce, like he can't help himself. Her back presses against the car, and she feels the cool metal against her skin, a contrast to the heat of his body. The kiss is over too soon, leaving her breathless, and when he pulls back, his eyes are dark, his voice a low growl. "You're gonna be the death of me, Olivia fam." She laughs, sliding into the car, her skirt riding up just enough to catch his eye, and she doesn't bother to adjust it. "Good," she says, her voice sultry, teasing. Let's see how much trouble I can be. The car door closes, and as Carter rounds to the driver's side, the night stretches out before them, full of possibility, full of danger, full of everything they didn't know they were looking for. This isn't Tinder anymore. This is something else entirely. Something real. Something reckless. Something that might just change them both forever. The Los Angeles skyline glitters through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Carter Lee's downtown condo, a constellation of lights that feels both distant and intimate, like the city is holding its breath for what's about to unfold. The drive from Silver Lake was a blur, the air in Carter's Audi charged with unspoken anticipation, their hands brushing on the center console, their laughter soft but laced with something heavier. Now, as the door to his apartment clicks shut behind them, Olivia, Fam, and Carter stand in the quiet, the weight of their decision settling around them like a warm, inescapable fog. This is no longer a Tinder date, no longer a game of witty texts and stolen glances. This is real, raw, and undeniable, and neither of them wants to turn back. Carter's apartment is a study in understated, elegance dark wood floors, a leather sectional sofa, a record player in the corner, spinning a soft jazz vinyl that fills the space with a sultry, languid melody. The lights are low, casting golden pools across the room, and the air smells faintly of cedar and coffee, a scent that's distinctly him. Olivia stands near the window, her silhouette framed against the cityscape, her crimson top catching the light in a way that makes her skin glow like burnished amber. Her leather skirt hugs her hips, accentuating the curve of her thighs, and her dark hair spills over one shoulder, a cascade of silk that begs to be touched. She's breathtaking, not just in her beauty but in her presence, confident, untamed, a woman who commands the room without trying. But there's a softness in her eyes tonight, a vulnerability that makes Carter's chest ache with something he's not ready to name. He's standing a few feet away, his white shirt slightly rumpled from their kiss outside the bar, his dark jeans slung low on his hips. His broad shoulders fill the space, and there's a quiet strength in the way he moves, deliberate but unhurried, like he's savoring every second of this moment. His hazel eyes are dark now, the gold flecks almost swallowed by desire, and his lips still glistening from their earlier kiss curve into a half smile as he watches her. He's beautiful, Olivia thinks, not in a polished, magazine cover way, but in the way that feels lived in, real, his stubble rough along his jaw, his hair mussed from her fingers, his chest rising and falling, with breaths that seem just a little too quick. She wants to touch him, to trace the lines of his body, to learn every scar and curve and secret he's carrying. "Nice place," Olivia says, her voice low, teasing, breaking the silence as she turns from the window to face him. Her lips quirk into a smirk, but her eyes betray her, wide and bright, drinking him in. "Not what I expected from a suit guy." Carter chuckles, the sound warm and rich, and steps closer, closing the distance between them. "And what did you expect?" he asks, his voice a soft rumble, his eyes locked on hers. "A sterile bachelor pad with a neon beer sign?" She laughs, and it's a sound that makes his heart skip, bright and unguarded. "Something like that," she says, tilting her head, her hair falling to one side and exposing the smooth column of her neck. "But this feels like you." Her gaze flicks around the room, then back to him, and there's a heat in her eyes that makes his breath catch. Warm, real. He's close now, close enough that she can feel the warmth radiating from his body, the faint scent of his cologne wrapping around her like a second skin. "You're real," he says, his voice rougher now, raw with something that feels dangerously close to truth. His hand lifts, hesitating for a moment before his fingers brush her cheek, tracing the line of her jaw with a tenderness that makes her shiver. His touch is electric, sending sparks skittering across her skin, and she leans into it, her eyes fluttering closed for just a second before she opens them again, meeting his gaze. "Carter," she whispers, and his name on her lips is a spell, a prayer, a surrender. She steps closer, her hands finding his chest, her fingers splaying across the firm planes of muscle beneath his shirt. His heartbeat is strong, steady, and she feels it under her palms, a rhythm that grounds her even as her own pulse races. His chest is warm, solid, and she imagines what it would feel like to press herself against him, to feel the full weight of his body against hers. Her fingers trace the edge of his collar, slipping beneath the fabric to graze the skin at the base of his throat, and he inhales sharply, his eyes darkening. "Olivia," he says, and it's a warning, a question, a plea. His hands find her waist, his fingers curling into the curve of her hips, and the pressure is possessive but gentle, like he's holding something precious. Her skirt rides up slightly under his touch, exposing a sliver of thigh, and she feels the heat of his palms through the thin fabric of her top, searing her skin. His thumbs brush the bare skin just above her waistband, and the sensation is so intense she bites her lip to keep from gasping. His body is a map she wants to explore, his broad shoulders, his tapered waist, the faint scar she notices on his forearm, a story she wants to hear but not now, not when every nerve in her body is screaming for him. They're not rushing, not yet, but the air between them is heavy, charged with a need that's been building since their first kiss. The jazz record spins, a saxophone weaving a slow, sensual melody that mirrors the rhythm of their breaths. Carter's hand slides up her side, his fingers grazing the edge of her ribcage, and Olivia feels her body arch toward him, instinctive, hungry. Her hands move to his shoulders, then to the back of his neck, her fingers tangling in the soft hair at his nape. His hair is thick, slightly curled, and she tugs gently, testing, and the low groan he lets out sends a thrill through her, pooling low in her belly. "Olivia," he says again, his voice rougher now, and he leans in, his lips brushing her ear, his breath warm against her skin. "If you want to stop, tell me. I'll stop." His words are a promise, but there's a tremor in them, like he's fighting to keep control, and it makes her want him more, makes her want to push him until that control shatters. She pulls back just enough to look at him, her eyes searching his, and what she sees there a desire, tenderness, a raw honesty undoes her. "The problem is," she says, her voice low, sultry, "I don't want to stop." Her lips curve into a smile, mischievous and inviting, and she pulls him closer, her body pressing against his, her curves fitting into the hard lines of him like they were made for each other. His chest is firm against her breasts, his hips aligned with hers, and she can feel the strength in his thighs, the way his body responds to her, tense and ready. That's all it takes. Carter's restraint snaps, but it's not frantic, it's deliberate, reverent. His lips find hers, and the kiss is deeper this time, hungrier, a collision of want and need. His mouth is warm, soft but demanding, and she opens to him, her tongue brushing his, tasting the whiskey and honey of him. The kiss is a dance, slow and consuming, and she moans softly, the sound muffled against his lips. His hands roam now, one sliding to the small of her back, pulling her closer, the other cupping her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. Her skin is smooth, like silk under his fingers, and he marvels at the contraster's softness, his roughness, the way they fit together. Olivia's hands are just as bold, slipping beneath his shirt to explore the warm skin of his torso. His abs are taut, a ripple of muscle that tenses under her touch, and she traces the lines of him, memorizing the way his body feels strong, alive, hers in this moment. His skin is warm, slightly rough, with a faint trail of hair leading downward, and she follows it with her fingertips, teasing, until he groans again, the sound vibrating against her lips. She wants to hear that sound forever, wants to know every way she can make him unravel. They move toward the sofa, not breaking the kiss, their bodies pressed close, stumbling slightly in their eagerness. Carter's hands find the hem of her top, and he pauses, his eyes searching hers for permission. She nods, her breath hitching, and he lifts the fabric slowly, reverently, exposing the smooth expanse of her stomach, the delicate curve of her waist, the black lace of her bra. Her skin is golden in the low light, flawless and warm, and he brushes his fingers along her ribs, his touch light but searing. She shivers, her body arching toward him, and he pulls the top over her head, tossing it aside, his eyes never leaving hers. "You're beautiful," he murmurs. And it's not a line, it's a truth, raw and unguarded, and it makes her heart ache. She reaches for his shirt, her fingers working the buttons with a mix of urgency and care, and when it falls open, she takes a moment to look at him. His chest is broad, dusted with dark hair, his muscles defined but not overly sculpted, a body that's strong but lived in, marked by faint scars and freckles that tell stories she wants to learn. She presses her lips to his collarbone, tasting the salt of his skin, and he inhales sharply, his hands tightening on her hips. They're shedding layers now, not just clothes, but walls, fears, the careful facades they've both worn for too long. Olivia's skirt falls to the floor, revealing long, toned legs and the curve of her hips, and Carter's jeans follow, leaving him in black boxer briefs that do little to hide his arousal. His body is a masterpiece of strength and vulnerability, broad shoulders, narrow waist, thighs that suggest power and endurance. She traces the line of his hip, her fingers grazing the edge of his waistband, and he shudders, his eyes dark with need. They sink onto the sofa, the leather cool against their heated skin, and Carter pulls her close, her body straddling his. Her thighs bracket his hips, and she can feel the hardness of him beneath her, a promise that makes her pulse race. His hands roam her back, tracing the curve of her spine, and she arches into him, her breasts pressing against his chest, the lace of her bra a teasing barrier. His lips find her neck, kissing a slow, deliberate path along her throat, and she tilts her head back, giving him access, her breath coming in soft gasps. His stubble grazes her skin, a delicious roughness that contrasts with the softness of his lips, and she feels herself unraveling, her body singing under his touch. "Carter," she breathes, and his name is a plea, a demand, a surrender. His hands slide to her thighs, gripping them with just enough pressure to make her moan, and he kisses her again, slower this time, savoring her. His tongue explores her mouth, and she meets him stroke for stroke, their bodies moving in a rhythm, that feels ancient, inevitable. Her fingers dig into his shoulders, her nails leaving faint marks, and he groans, the sound low and primal, vibrating through her. They're not just bodies now, they're a conversation, a confession, a collision of everything they've been holding back. Carter's hands find the clasp of her bra, and he pauses, his eyes searching hers again. "Tell me if it's too much," he says, his voice rough but tender, and she shakes her head, her lips curving into a smile. "It's not enough," she says, and the words are a spark, igniting them both. He unhooks her bra, sliding it off, and his breath catches at the sight of her breasts full and soft, her nipples dark and peaked, her skin glowing in the dim light. He cups her, his thumbs brushing her sensitive peaks, and she gasps, her body arching toward him, her hands gripping his hair. His mouth follows, kissing a path down her chest, and when his lips close around her, she moans, loud and unashamed, her body trembling with need. They move to the bedroom, a tangle of limbs and whispered promises, the jazz record still playing faintly in the background. The bed is wide, the sheets cool and crisp, and they fall into it, their bodies pressed close, their hands and lips exploring without haste. Carter's mouth is everywhere, her neck, her breasts, the sensitive skin of her inner thigh sand. Olivia's hands are just as bold, tracing the lines of his body, learning the places that make him shudder, make him groan. They're not rushing, not yet, but the need is building, a crescendo that threatens to consume them. When they finally come together, it's slow, deliberate, a joining that feels like coming home. Carter's body is heavy over hers, his weight grounding, his skin hot against hers. Her legs wrap around him, pulling him closer, and they move together, their breaths mingling, their eyes locked. It's not just physical, it's emotional, spiritual, a connection that transcends the fleeting spark of a Tinder match. They're not strangers anymore, there's something more, something neither of them expected but both of them need. The night stretches on, endless and perfect. They make love again, then again, each time slower, deeper, learning each other's rhythms, each other's truths. Between, they talk soft, whispered conversations about dreams, fears, the little things that make them who they are. Olivia tells him about her childhood in Orange County, the way she'd sneak out to watch the stars. Carter tells her about his dad's record collection, the way music saved him after his mom left. They laugh, they tease, they hold each other, and the intimacy of their words is as powerful as the intimacy of their bodies. As the first hints of dawn creep through the windows, they lie tangled in the sheets, Olivia's head resting on Carter's chest, his fingers tracing lazy circles on her back. Her skin is flushed, her hair a glorious mess, and she feels more herself than she ever has, like she shed a skin she didn't know she was wearing. Carter's body is warm, solid, and she listens to the steady beat of his heart, a sound that feels like a promise. They don't sleep, not really. They're too caught up in each other, too unwilling to let the night end. This isn't Tinder anymore. This is something else, something real, something that might just change them both forever. And as the city wakes outside, Olivia and Carter hold on to each other, not knowing what the morning will bring, but certain, for now, that they've found something worth keeping. The first rays of dawn creep through the blinds of Carter Lee's downtown Los Angeles condo, painting the room in soft golds and pinks. The city outside is stirring, a faint hum of traffic and birdsong filtering through the windows, but inside, time feels suspended, as if the world is holding its breath for Olivia, Fam, and Carter. The bedroom is a cocoon of warmth, the sheets tangled around their bodies, the air still heavy with the scent of their skin cedar, jasmine, and something sweeter, like the memory of their night together. The jazz record from hours ago has long since stopped, leaving a quiet that's not empty but full, brimming with the unspoken weight of what they've shared. Olivia lies on her side, her cheek pressed against Carter's chest, her dark hair fanning across his skin like spilled ink. His heartbeat is steady beneath her ear, a rhythm that feels like home, and his arm is draped around her, his fingers tracing lazy patterns along her spine. Her body is soft, pliant, still flushed from their hours of lovemaking, and she feels a delicious ache in her muscles, a reminder of how thoroughly they explored each other. Her skin glows in the morning light, golden and smooth, her curves a study in elegance-full breasts, a tapered waist, hips that flare just enough to draw the eye. She's wearing Carter's white dress shirt, unbuttoned and slipping off one shoulder, exposing the delicate curve of her collarbone and the faint mark where his lips lingered hours ago. The shirt smells of him clean, musky, with a hint of whiskey, and it clings to her like a lover's embrace, making her feel both vulnerable and powerful. Carter is awake, his hazel eyes soft but alert, watching the way the light plays across Olivia's face. He's propped on one elbow, his broad chest bare, the sheets pooling at his waist. His body is a masterpiece of strength and warmth, muscled, but not overly sculpted, with a dusting of dark hair across his pecs and a faint scar on his ribcage that Olivia traced with her fingers in the dark. His jaw is shadowed with stubble, rougher now than it was last night, and his dark hair is mussed, falling across his forehead in a way that makes him look younger, almost boyish. Despite the intensity in his gaze, he's beautiful, not in a polished way, but in a lived-in one, with lines around his eyes that hint at laughter and loss, a body that carries stories she's only begun to learn. She wants to know them all, to map every inch of him with her hands, her lips, her heart. The morning after a night like theirs should be awkward, full of stilted small talk, hurried goodbyes, the inevitable retreat to separate lives. But there's none of that here. The silence between them is easy, comfortable, like a conversation they've been having for years. Olivia shifts, stretching languidly, and the shirt rides up, revealing the smooth expanse of her thigh. Carter's eyes follow the movement, a flicker of heat in his gaze, but he doesn't move to touch her, not yet. Instead, he smiles, a slow, tender curve of his lips that makes her stomach flutter, and she wonders how a smile can feel so much like a touch. "Good morning," he says, his voice low and rough from sleep, a gravelly warmth that sends a shiver down her spine. He reaches out, brushing a strand of hair from her face, his fingers lingering against her cheek. His touch is gentle, reverent, and she leans into it, her eyes half closing as she savors the warmth of his skin against hers. "Morning," she murmurs, her voice soft, almost shy, though there's a playful glint in her eyes. She props herself up on one elbow, mirroring his position, and the shirt gapes open, offering a glimpse of her cleavage, the curve of her breast. She doesn't adjust it, letting his gaze linger, and the air between them hums with a quiet, lingering desire. "You're staring, suit guy." Carter chuckles, the sound rich and warm, and his hand slides to her neck, his thumb brushing the pulse point at her throat. "Can you blame me?" he says, his eyes locking onto hers, gold flecks catching the light. "You're wearing my shirt better than I ever could." His voice is teasing, but there's an undercurrent of something deeper, something that makes her heart skip a tenderness that feels dangerous, like it could unravel her if she lets it. Olivia smirks, shifting closer until their faces are inches apart, her breath warm against his lips. "Careful," she says, her voice low, sultry. "Keep talking like that, and I might never give it back." Her fingers trace the line of his jaw, feeling the rough stubble under her fingertips, and she marvels at how familiar he feels, how right. His skin is warm, slightly rough, and she imagines kissing him there, tasting the salt of him, feeling the way his breath catches when she does. They're close now, close enough that she can see the faint freckles across his nose, the way his eyelashes cast delicate shadows on his cheeks. His body is a study in contrast-hard muscle and soft warmth, strength and vulnerability, and she wants to explore every inch of it, to learn the places that make him sigh, make him laugh, make him hers. Her hand slides to his chest, her palm flat against his heart, and she feels the steady thrum of it, a rhythm that grounds her even as her own pulse races. His chest is firm, warm, and she traces the faint scar on his rib cage, wondering about the story behind it, knowing she'll ask someday when the moment feels right. Carter's hand moves to her waist, his fingers slipping beneath the hem of the shirt to graze the bare skin of her hip. The touch is light but deliberate, sending sparks skittering across her skin, and she bites her lip to keep from gasping. His fingers are warm, slightly calloused, and they trace the curve of her hip with a reverence that makes her feel cherished, desired, seen. "Olivia?" he says, his voice softer now, almost a whisper, and her name on his lips is a caress, a promise. "Last night, it wasn't what I expected." She tilts her head, her eyes searching his, and there's a vulnerability in her gaze that she doesn't try to hide. "Disappointed?" she asks, echoing their conversation from the night before, but her voice is softer now, laced with something real, something that scares her as much as it thrills her. He shakes his head, his hand tightening slightly on her hip, pulling her closer until their bodies are pressed together, her thigh brushing his. "Not even close," he says, his voice rough with emotion. "You're everything I didn't know I was looking for." His eyes are steady, burning with a sincerity that makes her breath catch, and she feels a warmth spreading through her, not just from his touch but from the way he's looking at her, like she's the only thing that matters. Olivia doesn't know how to respond to that, not with words, so she leans in, pressing her lips to his in a kiss that's soft but deep, a slow exploration that feels like a continuation of their night. His mouth is warm, familiar now, and he tastes faintly of sleep, a sweetness that makes her heart ache. The kiss is unhurried, their lips moving together in a rhythm that's both tender and electric, and she feels herself melting into him, her body softening against his. His hand slides up her back, tangling in her hair, and she moans softly, the sound muffled against his lips. His body responds, a subtle shift of his hips, a tightening of his grip, and she feels the heat of him, the strength, the promise of more. They pull back, but only slightly, their foreheads resting together, their breaths mingling in the quiet. Olivia's lips are tingling, swollen from the kiss, and she can still feel the ghost of his mouth on hers, the warmth of his hands on her body. Her eyes flutter open, and she finds him looking at her, his gaze soft but intense, like he's trying to memorize every detail of this moment. His thumb brushes her lower lip, and she shivers, her body hyper-aware of every point of contact, the press of his fingers at her waist, the heat of his chest against hers, the faint scratch of his stubble against her forehead. "Your trouble," she murmurs, echoing his words from the bar, and there's a smile in her voice, a warmth that feels new, unguarded. She shifts, sitting up slightly, and the shirt slips further, revealing more of her shoulder, her chest, and she doesn't bother to fix it, letting his gaze linger. His eyes darken, but there's no rush in them, just a quiet appreciation that makes her feel beautiful, wanted, cherished. Carter grins, sitting up to face her, the sheets falling to his waist, exposing the taut lines of his torso, the faint trail of hair leading downward. "The best kind of trouble," he says, his voice low, teasing, but there's a sincerity in his eyes that makes her heart skip. He reaches for her hand, lacing his fingers through hers, and the contact is grounding, electric. His hand is warm, slightly rough, and she loves the way it feels against hers. The way his thumb brushes her knuckles, a small gesture that feels impossibly intimate. They sit there for a moment, just looking at each other, and the silence is perfect, full of everything they don't need to say. Olivia feels a strange wonder settling over her, a realization that this, whatever this is, feels different, deeper than anything she's known. She's always been guarded, quick to keep people at arm's length, but with Carter, the walls she's spent years building feel like they're crumbling, and she's not sure she wants to stop them. His presence is a quiet storm, all warmth and intensity, and she's caught in it, unable to look away. "Coffee?" Carter asks, breaking the silence, and his voice is light, but his eyes are still on her, still searching, like he's asking for more than just a drink. He swings his legs over the side of the bed, standing, and Olivia takes a moment to admire him, the way his muscles shift under his skin, the way his boxer briefs hug his hips, the quiet confidence in his movements. He's not showing off, but he doesn't need to. His body is a promise, a story, and she wants to read every chapter. She nods, sliding out of bed, and the shirt falls to mid-thigh, barely covering her, but she doesn't care. She follows him to the kitchen, her bare feet soft against the hardwood floor, and the morning light spills across the room, illuminating the sleek countertops, the stainless steel appliances, the small vase of wildflowers on the counter that she didn't notice last night. Carter moves with an easy grace, pulling a bag of coffee beans from a cupboard, and she watches the way his shoulders flex, the way his hands move with quiet precision into a small, dark space. The scent of coffee fills the air, rich and warm, and Olivia leans against the counter, her hip brushing his as he grinds the beans, her smile soft but playful. "You look good in my kitchen," Carter says, glancing over his shoulder, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Like you belong here." Olivia laughs, hopping onto the counter, her legs swinging, the shirt riding up to reveal the smooth expanse of her thighs. "Don't get used to it," she teases, but there's no bite in her words, just a warmth that makes his grin widen. "I'm only here for the coffee." He steps between her legs, his hands resting on her thighs, and the touch is casual but electric, sending a shiver through her. "Liar," he murmurs, leaning in to kiss her, a quick, soft press of his lips that leaves her breathless. "You're here for me." She doesn't deny it, just kisses him back, her hands sliding to his neck, her fingers tangling in his hair. The coffee maker gurgles behind them, but they're lost in each other, the world fading to the feel of his lips, his hands, the quiet wonder of this moment. When they pull apart, Their eyes lock, and there's a promise there, unspoken but clear. This isn't the end, but a beginning. Carter pours the coffee, handing her a mug, and they sit at the small breakfast nook, their knees brushing under the table. The coffee is strong, perfect, and they sip in companionable silence, stealing glances, sharing smiles. Olivia feels a lightness she hasn't felt in years, a hope she's afraid to name, and when Carter reaches for her hand, she lets him, their fingers intertwining like they were made to fit together. "I should get you home," Carter says eventually, his voice reluctant, but his eyes are soft, like he's not ready to let her go. He stands, pulling her to her feet, and she feels the warmth of his body, the strength, the promise of more mornings like this. They dress slowly, stealing touches, kisses, laughter. Olivia slips back into her skirt and top, but keeps his shirt tied around her waist. A playful claim she doesn't explain, but he doesn't question. Carter drives her back to Echo Park, the city waking around them, and the silence in the car is easy, full of possibility. When they reach her apartment, he walks her to the door, his hand in hers, and before she steps inside, he pulls her close, his lips brushing her forehead. "Olivia?" he says, his voice low, serious now. "I know Tinder's supposed to be temporary, but you're the realest thing I've ever found on it." Her heart stutters, and she looks up at him, her eyes bright, her smile soft. "You're not so bad yourself, suit guy," she says, but her voice is thick with emotion, and she kisses him, a slow, lingering kiss that feels like a promise. "See you around?" He grins, stepping back, his eyes never leaving hers. "Count on it." She watches him go, her heart full, her body humming, and as she steps inside, she knows this isn't the end. It's just the start of something strange, wonderful, and entirely their own. The Los Angeles sun climbs higher, bathing Echo Park in a golden glow that feels like a promise, though of what, Olivia Pham isn't sure. She stands in her loft apartment, the door just closed behind Carter Lee, his scent-seater, whiskey, and something uniquely him still lingering on her skin. In the air, in the white dress shirt, she's kept tied around her waist like a trophy. Her dark hair is a glorious mess, tumbling over her shoulders, and her crimson top clings to her curves, accentuating the elegant sweep of her collarbone, the soft swell of her breasts. Her skin glows, flushed from their night together, and her almond-shaped eyes are bright, sparkling with a mix of satisfaction and uncertainty. She's 27, a stylist with a life built on independence, yet this morning, she feels something new, a pull, a possibility, a question she's not ready to answer but can't ignore. Across town, in his downtown condo, Carter leans against the kitchen counter, a mug of coffee cooling in his hand. His broad shoulders are relaxed, but his hazel eyes, flecked with gold, are distant, lost in thought. His dark hair is still mussed from Olivia's fingers, his jaw shadowed with stubble that's rougher now, giving him a rugged edge that softens when he smiles. His body is a study in strength-muscled chest, tapered waist, long legs that carried him confidently through their night. But it's the warmth in him, the quiet intensity, that lingers in Olivia's mind. He's 30, a marketing director used to closing deals. Yet this, whatever this is with Olivia, feels like a deal he can't control. And for once, he doesn't want to. His phone sits on the counter, the Tinder app open, and he stares at it, his thumb hovering, knowing what he's about to do, but not why it feels so significant. Their night was a revelation, a collision of bodies and souls that turned a fleeting Tinder match into something undeniable. The morning after was softer, sweeter, full of stolen kisses and easy silences. But now, in the light of day, they're both grappling with what comes next. Olivia paces her apartment, her bare feet soft against the hardwood, her leather skirt discarded on a chair, replaced by loose sweatpants that hang low on her hips. She catches her reflection in a mirror, lips still swollen from Carter's kisses, cheeks flushed, eyes alive in a way she hasn't seen in years. She's always been guarded, quick to keep men at a distance, but Carter slipped past her defenses, his warmth and humor and raw honesty leaving her exposed, vulnerable, alive. She opens her phone, the Tinder app glaring back at her, and there he is, Carter's profile, with that hiking photo that first caught her eye, his grin like a secret she now knows. Her finger hovers over the unmatch button, and she hesitates, her heart thudding. Unmatching is what you do with Tinder flings, with nights that don't mean anything, but this feels different. She thinks of his hands on her waist, the way his thumbs brushed her skin, sending sparks through her. She thinks of his lips on her neck, the low groan he let out when she tugged his hair, the way his eyes softened when he said her name. She thinks of the morning, his coffee mug warm in her hands, his laughter filling the quiet, his promise that this wasn't just Tinder. And yet, she presses the button, the app confirming the unmatch with a cold, clinical beep. Her chest tightens, but she doesn't regret it, not yet. Miles away, Carter does the same. He sits on his leather sofa, the city skyline glittering through his windows, and opens Tinder. Olivia's profile is Ganeshi's, unmatched him already, and the realization stings, but it also makes him smile. It's so her, bold and decisive, refusing to let an app define what they are. He swipes to unmatch her too, his thumbs steady, and the app erases their connection with the same impersonal finality. But it doesn't erase her laugh, her touch, the way she looked at him in the morning light, like he was more than a suit, more than a stranger. He sets his phone down, his fingers drumming on the counter, and wonders if he's made a mistake, if he should have fought harder to keep her tethered to him, even through something as fleeting as an app. The day stretches on, and they both tried to return to their lives. Olivia heads to a styling session in Silver Lake, her hands busy with fabric swatches, her mind replaying every moment of their night, the way Carter's body felt against hers, hard and warm, the way his lips mapped her skin, the way his voice sounded when he whispered her name. Her client, a rising actress, notices her distraction, teasing her about the glow she's got, and Olivia laughs it off, but her cheeks flush, betraying her. She's not used to this, feeling someone's absence like a physical ache, wanting someone's presence in a way that's both thrilling and terrifying. She tells herself it's just the high of a good night, that she'll forget him by next week. But even as she thinks it, she knows it's a lie. Carter, meanwhile, is in a boardroom downtown, his tailored blazer hugging his shoulders, his voice steady as he pitches a campaign. But his mind is elsewhere, on Olivia's smile, the way her eyes crinkled when she laughed, the way her body arched under his, soft and strong. His colleagues notice the way he pauses mid-sentence, the way his gaze drifts, and they chalk it up to a late night. But it's more than that. It's her, imprinted on him, a memory he can't shake, doesn't want to shake. He thinks of the morning, her wearing his shirt, her legs swinging as she sat on his counter, her kiss soft but electric. He thinks of her words at her door, teasing but heavy with truth. "See you around?" He wants to believe it. Wants to believe this isn't the end. But the silence of his phone feels like a challenge he's not sure he can meet. That night, Olivia's back in her loft, a glass of rosé in hand, the city humming outside her window. She's scrolling through her phone, not Tinder, but her messages, and she types out a text to Carter, her fingers trembling just slightly. "Worth deleting the app for that night?" she writes, her tone playful but her heart racing. She hesitates, her thumb hovering over the send button, and then she presses it, the message flying into the ether. She sets her phone down, her breath shallow, and waits, telling herself it doesn't matter if he replies, knowing it matters more than she'll admit. Carter's phone buzzes as he's driving home, the LA skyline a blur of lights. He pulls over, his heart skipping when he sees her name. He reads the message, and a grin spreads across his face, slow and bright, like the sun breaking through clouds. "Worth deleting my whole contact list," he types back, his fingers quick, his tone teasing but laced with something deeper. He sends it, then leans back in his seat, his pulse racing, wondering what she'll say, if she'll say anything at all. The silence that follows is agonizing, but it's also electric, full of possibility, full of her. A week passes, and neither of them texts again. Olivia throws herself into her work, styling shoots across LA, her hands steady but her mind wandering to Carter's laugh, his touch, the way he looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. She tells herself, it's better this way, that a night like theirs is best left as a memory, perfect and untarnished. But late at night, when the city is quiet, she finds herself reaching for her phone, hoping for a message, a sign, anything to bridge the gap between them. She doesn't text, but she doesn't delete his number either, and that feels like a choice, a small act of faith in something she's not ready to name. Carter, too, buries himself in work, meetings and campaigns filling his days, but Olivia is a constant undercurrent, a melody he can't stop humming. He drives past Silver Lake Lounge one evening, and the sight of it stops him cold. Memories of their night flooding back her red lips, her laugh, the way she kissed him like she meant it. He thinks about texting her, about showing up at her door, but something holds him back, not fear, but a sense that their story isn't finished, that the universe isn't done with them yet. He keeps her number, checks his phone more than he'd admit, and waits, hoping she feels the same pull he does. Then, one crisp morning, everything changes. Olivia's in her loft, sketching designs on a tablet, when there's a knock at her door. She freezes, her heart leaping, though she tells herself it's probably just a delivery. She smooths her hair, adjusts her loose tank top that slips off one shoulder, revealing the smooth curve of her neck, and opens the door. There he is, Carter, standing on her doorstep, his broad frame filling the space, his hazel eyes bright with something that looks like hope. He's holding a bouquet of wildflowers, vibrant and untamed, and a copy of The Alchemist, her favorite book, the one she mentioned in passing during their night together. His white shirt is crisp, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle, and his smile is tentative but warm, like he's not sure of his welcome but couldn't stay away. "Carter," she says, her voice a mix of surprise and delight, and her lips curve into a smile that makes his heart skip. She steps back, gesturing him inside, but her eyes are teasing, challenging. "Wildflowers in a book? You're pulling out all the stops, suit guy." He laughs, stepping closer, the flowers brushing her arm as he hands them to her. "Figured I owed you," he says, his voice low, warm, with that drawl that makes her toes curl. But there's a catch. His eyes lock onto hers, and there's a heat there, a promise that makes her breath catch. If I come in, you've got to make me coffee. I'm not as good at it as you think. Olivia laughs, bright and unguarded, and sets the flowers and book on a table, rumbling, her hands on her hips, her eyes sparkling. Deal, she says, her voice sultry, inviting. But you're on dish duty. She steps aside, letting him in, and as the door closes behind them, the air hums with possibility, with questions, with the weight of what they could be. Their eyes meet, and it's there again, that spark, that pull, that undeniable something that started with a swipe and became so much more. But what happens next? Do they fall into each other's arms, picking up where they left off? Or do they navigate the messy, beautiful complexity of something real? Is this a fleeting reunion or the start of a love that could redefine them both? The answers lie just out of reach, waiting to be told. Stay tuned to my channel for the next chapter of Olivia and Carter's story, where the city of dreams might just write them a love story for the Agisaur, a heartbreak they never saw coming. What do you think happens next? Let me know, and I'll see you in the next installment.